Good afternoon, everyone. How are we all? Happy Monday. Don't know if it's the same where you are, but it is keen freezing here on the East Coast. This weekend, Nick Ball fought TJ Dehenny. Dehenny was decent. He was absolutely game. He was awkward. He came with some ambition, and he was a decent opponent on the night. Put up a pretty good show. Nick Ball, you know, if you've watched me for a while, I'm a big Nick Ball fan, have been for a very, very long time. So no one is more than happy than me to see him march on. He seems to have sort of turned himself into an all-out sort of pressure fighter now, which he's, in his body geometry, he's very much a smaller, condensed version of a Mike Tyson, isn't he? But Nick Ball he's so intent on marauding his opponent and trying to sort of knock his opponent out. He's still guilty of launching attacks from too far out, which kind of results in these sort of leaped in sort of haymakers from distance without bringing his feet in first. If you look at Mike Tyson, what made him so effective and so fucking amazing was the fact that his footwork was fucking exemplary. His footwork, his head movement, the way that he could get past a jab with a peekaboo, underneath a jab, behind a jab, using his feet, bringing himself into distance to then let his attacks go and his launches attacks. Nick Ball is still, for me, just a little bit too eager and a little bit too aggressive in those attacks without putting really much thought behind them and just using your skills, not just your hand skills and your power, but your foot skills, your body movement, and just your ring IQ, really. Other than that, you know, he marches on and, you know, wouldn't you love to see a fight with a new eight? And I'm not saying he would win, obviously, but what a fight that would be. But there was a part in that fight, I remember the end of what round it was, where at the end of the round, Dehenny had him in a headlock and kind of refused to let him go. And then when he did let him go, Nick Ball just gave him a fucking kick. You know, and this is what's another part of this video I want to move on to. And this is kind of one of the problems for me in boxing at the moment is that, did I want to see Nick Ball get disqualified? No, of course I didn't. What do you do then? Do you remove a point from both? That is literally pointless. Because Dehenny had him in the headlock, refused to let him go. So we just say, well, you know, and you know, you would think it'd be harsh to get disqualification for that kick, and I think that's part of the problem is our psychology and the way we kind of look at this sport and the things we let go. And I want this to bridge over to sort of the Eubank Benn thing, and because Conor Benn is widely regarded as public enemy number one because of the popular for clomiphene. I've made countless videos on that before, from the substance side and from the kind of ethical side and the moral side and the rules. And because Conor Benn is public enemy number one, the egg slap has kind of been, oh, that's all right, it was only an egg, you know, and we all hate him anyway, so that's fine. And the 100 grand fine is way too much. I think the 100 grand fine, I might be wrong, that's a percentage of his purse, which is a very small percentage of a very large fucking purse. So it's not really going to make a dent. And this leads me on to another thing, and this goes to what Eddie Hearn made this statement, which has been well publicised this week and many people have commented on, was the fact that when, with the sort of the unification of Dana White and Turki al-Sheikh, and sort of, I think it was Dana that said, or one of them said that, you know, boxing is broken, we're kind of here to fix it, to which Eddie Hearn replied in a statement, boxing wasn't broken. I disagree, and a lot of people, I read a lot of the comments on that, and a lot of people were saying, no, boxing is broken, and look what Turkey's done, look at the shows you've had, and Turkey has fixed it, and boxing was broken before, it was this Wild West as we describe it. Now, you know, just my opinions, but the fact that Turki al-Sheikh has come in and just created these extravaganzas, these Riyadh season extravaganzas, these cards that we've never seen before, he's brought together fights that we possibly wouldn't have seen or not until the very end of their careers, which has happened in the past. If people read that as fixing boxing, then I think you're mistaken, because yes, the fighters are making more money on these cards. Yes, Frank and Eddie have been making more money than they ever have done before, possibly. And I think that's part of the problem. I made a video a long time ago talking about, I think it was titled, Beware Sheikhs Bearing Gifts. You know, if you know the saying, Greeks. And it was my skepticism at, although Turkey genuinely seems a genuine boxing fan, and he's given us these great cards, and he's brought together these fights in a lot quicker succession, and fights that, Bivol Butera, that we may have never seen, or may have never seen till very late on in their careers, that you wave the money in front of Frank and Eddie and this opportunity, and as they're going to just say, yes, please, sir, take the money, and brilliant. But I talked about how did they sell their souls, and did the money blind their judgment, and the fact that now that could mean them kind of losing their grip to the degree that they had before, and Turki Al-Sheikh taking those resources and doing what he wants with them. And we may be starting to see that with this collaboration with Turki Al-Sheikh. So going back to the thing of boxing being broken, I think boxing wasn't broken, or if it is broken, it's as broken now as it was then. The fact that we're getting these extravagances, the Riyadh season shows, doesn't mean boxing is fixed. It's papered over the cracks for the fans, because we're getting these shows, we're getting these extravaganzas, but boxing is still as broken as it was before. The attitude around boxing, the way it's governed, is still as twisted as it was before. We still let things go in this sport that would never be tolerated in a lot of other sports. And I think we're all part of the problem, because, if you hate Conor Benn, you'll say, it's just an egg and all that. Well, that's fine. And I'm a big Nick Ball fan, so would I found it harsh and been gutted if he'd have been disqualified? Yes. But is that to say that they're the right decisions? Probably not, because the more we have these attitudes, and that, well, we don't mind that happening to that fighter because we hate him, and I don't mind that fighter being allowed to continue because I'm a big fan, we've created an ecosystem where we've increased the sort of ecosystem as being the Wild West. We're all party to making it, this sport, as problematic as it is to a degree. And that's where I don't believe boxing is broken. I believe boxing is fine. Boxing has been there since way back when. It's always been there. And boxing will always have its people who love the sport, all of us guys who cherish the sport and love it. We were there way before Turkey, we'll be there after Turkey, and so will everyone else. The sport is going to be there. The sport is not broken, but the sport has many, many problems, of which we let our emotions get in the way a lot of the time, and money and everything else, and we don't aid boxing, really, do we? To a degree, we could all do better, and certainly the people who govern the sport, the paymasters, and everyone else could do better in making the sport less of the Wild West. But that will never be, because there are so many vested interests that, it's power corrupts, I suppose. But yeah, I kind of had to agree with Eddie, though. I don't think the sport is broken. Or if it is broken, it's just as broken now. And the fact that Turkey's giving these big shows doesn't mean boxing's fixed. It's fixed in terms of an eyes-on perspective, I suppose. It looks better on the outside, but on the inside, it's got the same issues it had now as it had before Turkey came along. So, no. Do I believe boxing is broken? No, boxing's got a lot of fucking issues. But those issues all still remain, regardless of Turkey, regardless of the money he's throwing in, regardless of the shows he gives us. Moving on to Chris Eubank. And this will not be a popular opinion, because everyone hates Conor Benn. That's fine. I understand why people do. And it's perfectly legitimate. He hasn't proven his innocence yet. He's been cleared by three organisations, but he hasn't told us the explanation for why the clomiphene was in his system. So I get it, and I'm with you. But I'm getting sick of Chris Eubank sitting there at every opportunity. I'm sure you've seen, sorry, I don't even like saying his name. It's Morgan. Benn Eubank on his show in the week, and Chris Eubank, every minute he's on camera, he will talk about how Conor Benn's a cheat, Conor Benn's this, Conor Benn's that. If Conor Benn is the cheat, if your morality is that high that you're disgusted by Conor Benn, you hate the fact he's a cheat. First off, he'd done the egg. Conor Benn's never used the eggs as an excuse. Just let's get it out there. That was an excuse given to him by the WBC as an out, which he fucking said no, it weren't fucking eggs. Anyway, regardless, but you can't sit there, Chris, and keep saying about how he's a scumbag, he's a cheat, this, that, and the other, because your morality, what you're preaching, would say that if that's true, you don't want him in the sport. You certainly don't want him earning money in this sport. if that's your moral take and your moral high ground, you don't want that. You don't want him in a sport. You don't want anywhere near it. You don't want anyone to get hurt. You don't want him to fight. You don't want him to have a career. You don't want him to earn money. But you'll leave all that morality aside if that means you earning a fucking wedge. So when you sit there and take your moral high ground, it's fucking bollocks and it means fuck all. Because if you were that morality driven, you would have refused to fight him. But you are greed driven and money driven. And listen, I don't fucking object that in a fighter. But don't sit there and say that you're all about a clean sport, you're all about morality. Because let's not forget, when he popped the first time, your camp was told that he popped, and you still immediately agreed to go on with a fucking fight the first time. So don't sit there with this fucking moral high ground. It's about the money, and it's about the money. And listen, I hate it when people say, oh, so-and-so's only fighting so-and-so for the money. Of course they are. Why do you think they turn fucking professional? Other than the titles, the wealth and the fame go fucking very high up there on the list of priorities when people turn professional. So I know that. But fucking let's be what it is. It is what it is. Be real. Don't sit there and say Conor Benn's a cheat. But I'll still, how much? Oh, how much? Fuck yeah, I'll fight him. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You're a fucking fraud and you are what you are. It's why your career has gone the way it's gone, because you chose money over swallowing your fucking ego for a start, listening to actually a legitimate trainer, and you could have been a better fighter than you are. And Chris Eubank's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong, he's a good fighter. But his career could have been a lot better if he'd have listened to trainers, if he hadn't have had Eubank Senior fucking up the early part of his career. And even when Junior didn't associate with Senior anymore in a fighting sense, your career still didn't get any fucking better because you've always gone for money first rather than everything else. And this is no different. You've seen an opportunity to make fucking multiple bags and you've took it regardless of the fact you think that fucking geezer's a cheat. If your standing is that high and you bring up Nick Blackwell and fighters getting hurt, you wouldn't want him in the sport. But you're going to fight him now. You're going to take your big fucking bag. And because you're taking this fight, Conor Benn's going to march on to another fight and another fight. So all that sound about all fighters getting hurt, you don't really give a fuck. Stop calling everyone. It's bollocks. You are just fucking there for the money and you don't really give a fuck about Conor Benn fighting or Conor Benn not fighting because you're actively putting him back into the fucking sport and collecting a large fucking wedge for doing so. So just, don't want to hear it. Anyway, that was it. I'll see you all soon.